The planet Nueva Isla was small, warm, and peaceful. Palm trees danced in the gentle wind, and the two suns painted golden light across the ocean. Ships from many planets stopped here to refuel, rest, or trade. Life moved slowly, and most people were kind. In the heart of the market square, there was a small diner called Star Harbor. It wasn't big or shiny, but it was always clean and full of food smells. Tourists came here for local dishes and fresh juice. And behind the counter was a girl named Meera. Meera was 20 years old, small in size, with dark eyes and a gentle smile. She wore a plain blue uniform and tied her hair with a red ribbon. Every morning, she woke up before sunrise, helped her younger siblings with breakfast, and walked to the diner. She worked from morning till night, serving drinks, cleaning tables, and listening to strangers talk about stars she would never see. Meera didn't complain. She was proud of her work. "Every smile I give," she told herself, "is a little light in the world." Her boss, an old woman named Nene Rosa, often said, "You're the soul of this place, Meera." Meera would laugh and say, "Just doing my part, Nene." But deep inside, she had dreams, big dreams. She wanted to study languages, visit space cities, and one day send her family to school and safety. But dreams needed money, and Meera only had coins. One hot afternoon, a group of rich tourists walked into Star Harbor. They wore expensive clothes, gold rings, and shiny glasses. They were loud, laughing, and pointing at things like they owned the place. Meera put on her best smile and greeted them. "Welcome to Star Harbor, sirs and madams," she said kindly. "Please sit anywhere you like." One of the women, tall and cold, looked at Meera and said, "Do you speak basic or only some broken language?" The others laughed. Meera nodded politely. "I speak basic. What would you like to order?" Another man said, "I hope the food is better than the service. You people don't even know how to clean." Meera's hands shook slightly, but she kept smiling. She wrote down their order and walked to the kitchen. In the corner of the diner, a man in a simple coat watched everything. He had short gray hair and calm eyes. He didn't say much, just quietly sipped his tea and observed. His name was Leo. No one knew who Leo was. He looked like an old traveler, maybe retired, maybe lost. But he noticed everything. The way Meera stayed kind even when insulted, the way her smile covered her pain, the way the other workers respected her silently. When Meera returned to the tourists with their food, they began mocking her again. "Is this real chicken?" one of them asked, pushing the plate. "Or is it grown in your backyard next to the goats?" More laughter. Meera answered softly, "It's fresh, sir. Cooked just now by our chef." "She's like a little robot," another said. "Smile, answer. Walk away, just background." Meera turned away so they wouldn't see her tears. She walked back to the counter, took a deep breath, and whispered, "It's just another day. Just get through it." After the tourists left, without paying a tip or even saying thank you, Meera sat on a stool behind the counter. Her feet ached. Her chest felt heavy. She stared at her hands. Why did people treat her like that? Her friend Jun, the cook, came out of the kitchen and gave her a glass of water. "Ignore them," he said gently. "Some people throw mud because they've never seen clean hearts." Meera smiled a little. "I know, it makes me feel small sometimes." "Small?" Jun said. "Meera, you carry more strength in your heart than they ever will in their wallets." At that moment, Leo stood up, finished his tea, and walked over to the counter. He placed a small chip, a tip worth more than a full day's wage. Meera looked up in surprise. "Sir, that's too much." Leo smiled. "No, young lady, it's too little. You gave them kindness when they gave you none. That is rare out here." Meera lowered her eyes, unsure what to say. Before leaving, Leo added, "The stars need more people like you. Don't ever think you're small." Then he walked out into the sunlight and disappeared into the crowd. That night, Meera sat on the Fiwa roof of her small house. Her little sister slept beside her, and the stars above blinked softly. She thought about Leo's words, "The stars need more people like you." She wondered who he really was, a kind traveler, a retired officer, or maybe just someone who saw what others didn't. What she didn't know was that Leo wasn't a regular traveler. He was a billionaire. A quiet one. A builder of ships, sponsor of peace missions, and secret member of the Terran Alliance, an organization that looked for true human values across the galaxy. He had traveled to many worlds, met thousands of leaders, but very few. Meera's as he flew off Nueva Isla in his shuttle that night. He sent a message to his assistant. "I found her. She's exactly what we need." The next morning at Star Harbor Diner, Meera arrived early as always. The sun had just risen, and the sky was painted with soft orange and blue. She swept the floor, wiped the tables, and made sure everything was ready before the first customer walked in, but her heart was still heavy from the day before. She remembered the rude tourists, their mocking voices, and their cruel smiles. She remembered how they laughed at her like she wasn't a real person. It hurt more than she wanted to admit. But she didn't tell anyone, not her mother, not her younger sister, not even Jun. Instead, she worked quietly like always. Jun walked into the kitchen, whistling. "Morning, Meera. Ready to conquer the galaxy with your kindness again?" Meera gave a small smile. "Maybe just the diner for today." Jun frowned a little. "You still thinking about those rich travelers?" Meera nodded slowly. "They looked at me like I was nothing." Jun leaned on the counter. "That's because they don't know what real worth is. They think money makes someone important. But you work hard, stay kind, and treat everyone with respect. That's strength, Meera. That's real value." Meera didn't answer. She just kept wiping the glass cups, her mind far away in the stars. Later that day, just after the lunchtime rush, the doorbell rang softly. Meera turned and saw a familiar face. Leo, the quiet man from yesterday, was back. He wore the same simple coat, same calm expression. But this time, his eyes were serious. "Hello again," he said gently. "May I sit?" "Of course," Meera replied, guiding him to a table near the window. She brought him a cup of warm tea and stood by, unsure if she should walk away. Leo looked up at her. "Do you ever think about leaving this planet?" Meera blinked in surprise. "Leaving Nueva Isla?" "Yes," she laughed nervously. "I think about it all the time. But thinking is free. Tickets are not." Leo smiled. "What if I told you I could take you off this world? Today, right now?" Meera stared at him. "Why? Why would you do that?" Leo paused, then leaned forward. "I've been traveling for many years. I've seen powerful leaders, rich people, and smart machines. But do you know what's rare? Someone who keeps their heart kind, even when the world is unkind. You did that yesterday. You didn't fight. You didn't curse. You served them with respect. That means something." Meera felt her chest tighten. "But I'm just a waitress." Leo shook his head. "You're more than that. I work with a group called the Terran Alliance. We look for people who understand the true spirit of humanity. People who carry our values. People who can teach others, other species, other worlds, what it really means to be human." Meera blinked. "You want me to teach aliens?" "In a way," Leo replied. "We call it cultural diplomacy. It's about sharing stories, emotions, and lessons that can't be found in books or machines. It's about showing the galaxy that Earth is not just war and money. We have heart." Meera sat down slowly. "But I don't have any training. I've never even left this town. That's why we train you," Leo said. "You won't be alone. Others have joined: nurses, farmers, teachers. People who understand pain, service, and patience. People like you." Meera looked at her hands. What about my family? I'll make sure they are taken care of, Leo said softly. You will not lose them. But you will gain something else, a chance to become something greater. Meera didn't say yes that moment. She asked for a day to think. Leo nodded and said he would wait. That night, Meera sat with her mother in their small home. Her younger siblings slept nearby. Her mother noticed the worry on her face. What is it, Anak? Her mother asked gently. Something wrong at the diner? No, Mama, Meera whispered. Something big happened today. I was offered a chance to leave, to work for people in space, to learn and teach. Her mother stayed quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. Your father once told me that even the smallest lamp can light a whole path. Maybe now it's your time to shine. Don't be afraid. Meera looked at her mother with tears in her eyes. But what if I fail? Then fail proudly, knowing you dared to dream. The next morning, Meera met Leo outside the diner. She wore her best dress, a simple white blouse and long skirt. Her hair was tied neatly, and her hands trembled just a little. I'm ready, she said. Leo smiled warmly. Then let's begin. They walked together through the market. Vendors waved goodbye to Meera, thinking she was going somewhere nearby. Only Jun knew the truth. He hugged her tightly and whispered, Make us proud. Leo led Meera to a small ship hidden behind the hills. It was silver, silent, and smooth like glass. As they entered, the door closed behind them, and Meera took one last look at her town. As the ship rose into the sky, Meera held her breath. The stars stretched across the window like glittering dreams. She had waited her whole life to see them. Up close, she whispered to herself, I'm just a waitress. But maybe I can be more. Leo, watching her from the pilot's seat, smiled. In his hand, he held a message pad. On it were 3 words, She is ready. The shuttle glided smoothly through the stars. Inside, Meera sat near a window, watching the glowing trail behind them. Her heart beat fast, but not from fear this time. It was something different, excitement, wonder, a sense that she was stepping into a new chapter of her life. She thought of her family, her little sister, the smell of rice cooking at home, and the small diner where she once wiped tables and smiled through tears. Now, she was heading to a world called Kerrion, a planet that had never seen a human waitress, only heard stories of Earth and the strange species called humans who loved, laughed, cried, and forgave. The pilot, a cheerful alien named Bone, looked over and smiled. First mission? Meera nodded. Yes, I was a waitress before this. Bone's eyes sparkled. Perfect. Kerrion is a peaceful place. They value emotions, but don't fully understand them yet. They will learn a lot from someone like you. The shuttle landed gently on a field of soft, glowing grass. Meera stepped out and gasped. The air was sweet, the sky soft purple, and trees looked like glass, reflecting sunlight like mirrors. In the distance, round buildings rose from the earth. Shaped like flowers, a group of Kerrion locals waited for her. They had tall, graceful bodies, glowing skin, and large, curious eyes. Their leader stepped forward, a calm being named Larry. Welcome, Meera of Earth, Larry said in slow but clear basic. We are honored to receive you. Meera bowed slightly. Thank you for inviting me. They guided her to a simple round house prepared just for her stay. The rooms were quiet, the walls soft and alive with gentle light. Meera placed her small bag on the table and tied her old red ribbon beside the window, a reminder of home. Over the next few days, Meera met many Kerrion citizens. They were kind but distant. They asked simple questions. Why do humans cry? Why do humans laugh when something is not useful? Why do humans eat together and not alone? Meera was patient. She explained through stories, not science. She told them about her family meals, how her mother taught her to share food. She spoke of her days at the diner, serving strangers. with care, even when they were rude. She even acted out a small play where she played both herself and a grumpy tourist. The Kerrion children laughed softly, their glowing skin flickering with light. It was the first time they had seen humor with meaning. One day, during a gathering in the town square, Larry invited Meera to speak. She stood in front of the Kerrion people, nervous but calm. "I'm not a great leader," she began. "I don't have degrees or fame. I served food in a diner. But I learned something important. How you treat others matters more than who you are." The crowd listened carefully. Some people spoke to me like I was dirt. They thought I was small because I didn't have money or power. But I didn't hate them. I stayed kind, not because I was weak, but because I was strong enough not to give back the same pain. There was silence in the square. The Kerrion people blinked slowly. A soft light glowed from their skin, a sign of deep emotion. Larry stepped forward. "We have heard many humans talk about machines and weapons. You are the first to teach us about the human heart." Later that evening, Meera sat by the glowing pond near her guest house. Small fish danced in the water, and the trees hummed a gentle tune. She took out a tiny holopad and sent a message to Leo. "Today, I spoke to a crowd. I think they listened. I'm not sure if I said everything right, but I didn't hide who I was. Thank you for trusting me." A reply came a few minutes later. "You did more than speak. You planted something. They'll never forget you. This is only the beginning, Meera." As days passed, Meera became a beloved guest on Kerrion. She cooked earth food for the children. She sang lullabies from her village. She taught them simple human games. She even cried once during a lesson when she remembered her father's voice. And instead of being embarrassed, she let the tears fall. The Kerrion were amazed. "You do not hide your sadness?" Meera smiled. "No. Feeling something deeply is not a weakness. It means you lived fully." And so, the people of Kerrion began to open up. They shared their own stories. A teacher told Meera about the day he lost a student to sickness. A mother shared her fear of not being strong enough for her child. Meera listened. She held their hands. She nodded, never judging. 2 weeks later, Kerrion held a festival in Meera's honor. Lights floated in the air. Songs were sung in both Kerrion language and broken basic. Children wore ribbons tied like Meera's. A new trend of pride. Larry stood before the crowd and spoke. This young woman came from a faraway world. She brought no technology, no treasure. But she brought something more rare: understanding. In her we saw the real face of humanity. The crowd bowed. Meera was speechless. She never imagined that her simple life, her humble heart, could be seen as something special. But here, on a world so far from her own, she was not just a waitress. She was a bridge, a teacher, a friend. That night, before she left, Larry handed her a glowing stone. "This is our gift. It shines only when someone has shared truth from the heart. Carry it, and know you changed us." Meera held the stone close. She whispered, "Thank you." As the shuttle rose once more into the stars, Meera sat with her ribbon in her hand and a tear on her cheek. The galaxy was vast, but she had found her place. The Galactic Ethics Council Hall stood high above the stars, a place of peace, wisdom, and balance. It floated in space like a jewel, protected by light shields and guarded by silence. Only the most respected voices from across the galaxy were allowed to speak here on this day. A young woman from a small planet walked through its great doors. Meera, once a waitress, now chosen as a voice for Earth. Her red ribbon was tied around her wrist. Her simple white dress flowed softly as she walked. Her heart beat fast, but her steps were steady. Beside her stood Leo, who smiled with quiet pride. "This is your moment," he said. "Speak from your heart. That's all you need." Meera nodded. "Thank you for everything." Inside the hall, the seats were filled with leaders, thinkers, and peacekeepers from over 100 worlds. Some were tall, others round. Some had wings, some had shells. Many had never seen Earth, but all had heard of the girl who had touched Kerrion and moved millions. A gentle voice announced, "Today's speaker Meera of Nueva Isla, Earth." She stepped forward. No music, no spotlight. Just her voice, her heart, and the stars watching. Meera looked at the crowd. Then she looked up at the great glass dome above, where space stretched wide and endless. Then she spoke, "My name is Meera. I come from a small diner on a quiet planet. I used to serve food to people from many worlds. I listened more than I spoke. I worked hard. I smiled, even when it was difficult." Some council members leaned forward. One day, a group of tourists insulted me. They called me names. They laughed at me just because I looked different and spoke with an accent. I didn't answer with anger. I didn't walk away. I simply did my job. Because I believed kindness is not weakness. A soft murmur moved through the room. Later, I was given a chance by someone who believed in quiet strength. He didn't look at my clothes or my money. He saw my actions. He saw my heart. She paused, then continued. "I was taken to a world called Kerrion. I met people who had never seen a human. I didn't bring technology or weapons. I brought stories. I brought music, laughter, and honesty. And something happened. They listened. One alien leader blinked with emotion. Another softly touched a glowing pin, a sign of agreement. I didn't speak like a leader. I spoke like a daughter, a sister, a worker who knows what pain and hope feel like." Meera raised her voice just a little. It was clear and gentle. We humans are not perfect. We have made mistakes. We sometimes hurt each other. But we also forgive, we share, we love. And when someone falls, we reach out and lift them. She touched her ribbon. This ribbon was once part of my waitress uniform. I wore it every day, even when people treated me like I was nothing. But I never stopped believing that I had value. Not because of my job, but because of how I treated others. Tears welled in the eyes of some listeners, human and alien. She continued, "Across the galaxy, we build ships and colonies. But what good are those things if we forget to care for each other? If we forget to say thank you? If we forget to listen to those with quiet voices?" Now the council hall was completely silent. Even the air seemed to pause. Meera ended her speech with a final message. "I am not a hero. I'm not special because I stood here today. I am special because someone believed in me and because I chose to believe in myself." She bowed gently. "Thank you for hearing my voice." There was no loud applause in the Ethics Council. It was not the tradition. Instead, a soft golden light filled the hall, a signal of deep respect from all members. Some bowed their heads. Others stood silently. In the crowd, Leo watched with full eyes. He knew this was more than a speech. It was a spark, a reminder of what humanity could be. After the council meeting, Meera received quiet greetings from many worlds. A leader from a bird-like species said, "Your voice reminded us of something we forgot: humility." A three-eyed diplomat from a desert moon said, "You taught me that real strength is gentle." An old robot who had served for 100 years said, "You speak like memory, soft but powerful." Meera listened to each word with grace. She didn't brag. She simply thanked them and smiled. That night, back at Helios Station, Meera sat in the garden alone. The stars twinkled above, and the flowers glowed gently. Leo came and sat beside her. "You changed more than one world today," he said. Meera looked at him. "Did I do enough?" Leo nodded. "You reminded the galaxy what it means to be human." Meera smiled softly. "Then I'll keep doing it, wherever they send me, as long as someone's listening." Leo placed a small badge in her hand. It was shaped like a flame, a beacon of Earth, a rare honor given only to those who brought true light from their home planet. "You've earned this," he said. "But I have a feeling your journey is only beginning." Somewhere on Earth, in a small village on Nueva Isla, Meera's mother watched a broadcast of her daughter's speech. She placed her hand on the screen and whispered, "My little girl, you lit the stars." The small silver ship carried Meera far from the only home she had ever known. As she looked out the window, the planet Nueva Isla became smaller and smaller, until it was just a blue and green ball behind her. For a moment, she felt afraid. The stars were beautiful, but also endless and quiet. She held her hands together and whispered, "Please guide me." Leo sat across from her, busy with a glowing screen, but he noticed her silence. He smiled gently. "You're doing better than most. The first flight can be scary." Meera gave a small nod. "I never thought I would leave home. I still don't know why you chose me." Leo turned off the screen and looked at her seriously. "You remember what I told you? The Terran Alliance isn't looking for rich people or famous names. We're looking for true humans, people with heart, honesty, and strength. You are exactly what we need." Meera looked down. "But I don't know anything about aliens or diplomacy. I'm not smart like those who work in big cities." Leo shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. You know something many don't. You know how to stay kind when others are cruel. You know how to work hard, to listen, to carry pain without giving it to others. That's wisdom, Meera. That's the soul of Earth." His words touched her deeply. No one had ever described her like that. After a few hours, the ship approached a large space station floating near a quiet moon. It looked like a metal flower with 6 wide arms and lights blinking on its surface. Ships of many kinds came and went. Some were shaped like birds, others like shells or stars. "This is Helios Station," Leo said. "A learning center. A place where humans and aliens meet to understand each other. You'll train here." The ship landed smoothly. As the door opened, Meera stepped out and gasped. The air smelled clean and cool. The hallways were bright and filled with people, some human, some not. She saw a tall blue creature with 4 arms, talking softly to a group of children. A small round alien floated in the air, laughing with a technician. No one was scared. Everyone seemed peaceful. Leo guided her through the halls. "There are over 50 species here," he said. "Some have war histories. Some are peaceful. But all want to learn from us. Not just about our machines, but about our hearts." Meera followed quietly, her eyes wide. In a round glass room, Meera met the other trainees. There were 5 of them, each from a different part of Earth. Tariq, a farmer from Sudan, stood tall with calm eyes. Anya, from a frozen village in Russia, smiled gently. Miguel, a mechanic from Peru, greeted her with a nod. Neela, a schoolteacher from India, wore colorful clothes. Ray, a nurse from a refugee colony on Mars, looked young but serious. They all looked surprised when Meera introduced herself. "You were a waitress?" Miguel asked. "Yes," Meera said, nervous. "That's perfect," Neela smiled. "We've all worked with people. That's what matters here." Leo explained their role. "You are cultural guides. You'll learn about alien worlds, and they'll learn about you. But not through numbers. Through stories, food, music, kindness, everything that makes humans feel." Anya added, "Aliens can build faster ships than us, but many still don't understand emotions. That's where we come in." Meera felt comforted. She wasn't alone. Others like her had come from simple lives and were now given a chance to shine. Over the next few weeks, Meera studied in classes with soft-spoken teachers from Earth and from alien planets. She learned about alien customs, star history, and peacekeeping. She trained in language, storytelling, and diplomacy, but the most important lessons were human. One class was about forgiveness, another was about serving others, another was about laughter. Meera shared her own stories about working at the diner, helping her family, and the day she served rude tourists without losing her smile. The teachers listened with interest. One of them, a feathered alien named Karu, said, "You carry a memory that speaks louder than books." Meera was surprised. No one had ever said her story mattered before. One evening, while sitting in the quiet garden of the station, Meera looked up at the stars and thought of home. She missed her family, her mother, her little sister, the simple life of Nueva Isla. But then she remembered what her mother had said. Even the smallest lamp can light a whole path. She now understood what that meant. Leo joined her in the garden. "You're adjusting well," he said. Meera smiled. "It's not easy, but I feel stronger." Leo looked at her. "Soon, you'll be ready to visit other worlds. You'll meet alien leaders, students, even children. You'll tell them who we are, not just through words, but through your presence." Meera looked at her hands. "Do you think they'll listen to someone like me?" Leo replied softly, "You already changed my view. And soon you'll change others." The next morning, a message came to the training group. A peaceful alien world named Kerrion had requested a human guide. They didn't want scientists or politicians. They wanted someone gentle, someone who could teach them about patience, kindness, and simple daily life. The Terran Alliance chose Meera. At first, she panicked. "Me? I just started." But the others smiled and cheered. "You're ready," said Tariq. "You're perfect for this mission," said Neela. Leo handed her a small badge. It was silver and shaped like a light, the symbol of cultural guides. "This will be your first mission," he said. "It won't be your last." Meera stood before the shuttle that would take her to Kerrion. She wore a clean uniform, not too fancy but proud. Around her neck was her red ribbon from the diner, now tied like a badge of honor. As the engines warmed, she whispered, "I'm not just a waitress anymore. I'm a light." The doors closed, and the shuttle rose into the stars. The stars shone bright as Meera's ship sailed quietly through space. Her heart was calm but full of hope. After speaking at the Galactic Ethics Council, her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a waitress from a small island. She was a voice for Earth, a symbol of kindness, strength, and hope. Meera looked out of the window and thought about everything she had learned. She thought about the rude tourists who once laughed at her, the Kerrion people who had welcomed her, and the many faces she had seen at the council. Her journey had been hard, but every step had made her stronger. Back on Nueva Isla, Meera's family waited anxiously for news. Her mother held her little sister close and told stories about Meera's courage. The neighbors talked with pride about the girl who had traveled to the stars. Even the owner of the diner told customers, "Meera is not just a waitress. She is a shining light for all of us." But Meera knew she was not the only one. Every day, ordinary people fought their own battles quietly, with courage and kindness. And maybe, just maybe, her story could inspire them too. At Helios Station, Meera was preparing for her next mission. This time, she would visit a place called Verenna, a distant planet troubled by old wars and mistrust. The Terran Alliance hoped she could help there, just as she had on Kerrion. Leo came to see her. "You have done more than we hoped, Meera. Verenna will be different, but I believe in you." Meera smiled. "I will do my best." When Meera arrived on Verenna, she saw a world covered in gray mountains and dark forests. The air was colder here. The people seemed cautious, their faces marked by worry and sadness. She met the leaders of two rival villages who had fought for many years. They looked tired but listened as Meera spoke softly. "I come from a world where people face many problems too," she said. "But we believe in peace. We believe that kindness can heal old wounds." The leaders exchanged glances. They had heard many promises before, but Meera's gentle words and honest eyes gave them hope. Meera stayed with the villagers for many weeks. She helped them share stories by the fire, taught their children simple games from Earth, and listened carefully to their fears. One day, she gathered the leaders together. "Let us stop fighting and start listening," she said. "Let us build Bridges, not walls. Slowly, the leaders agreed to meet and talk. The first step was hard. Old anger and mistrust ran deep. But Meera stayed patient. She reminded them of the laughter of children and the beauty of friendship. Months passed, and the villages began to change. People shared food, worked together, and helped one another. The mountains that once echoed with anger now held songs of hope. Meera felt a deep joy in her heart. She knew she was making a difference, not with power or force, but with love and understanding. One evening, as Meera looked up at the stars from a hilltop, her communicator beeped. It was a message from her mother. Anak, her mother's voice was soft and warm. "We are proud of you. Remember, no matter how far you travel, you will always be home in our hearts." Meera smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Mama. I carry you with me every day." Back at Helios Station, Meera was welcomed as a hero. But she remained humble. "I am not a hero," she said to Leo. "I am just someone who believes in kindness." Leo nodded. Sometimes that is the greatest power of all. As Meera's journey continued, she inspired many. People from Earth and other worlds sent letters, asking her to teach, to speak, and to guide. She understood that her life had changed forever, but she never forgot where she came from. Her red ribbon was no longer just a simple piece of cloth. It was a symbol of courage, hope, and the strength of the human spirit. And so, the waitress from Nueva Isla became a shining star in the galaxy. She showed the universe that kindness could cross planets, break down walls, and build a better future. Her story reminded everyone, no matter how small or simple you feel, your heart can light up the darkest night. When Meera returned to Helios Station, she felt different. Something inside her had changed. She had gone to a new world, shared her heart, and touched the lives of people who had never met a human like her before. She no longer felt like just a waitress. She felt like she belonged to something bigger. Her red ribbon, once tied in her hair at the diner, now rested proudly on her wrist like a badge of courage. As she walked through the halls of the station, people nodded to her. Other trainees smiled. Some even stopped her and asked about her mission. Did the Kerrion people really ask for lullabies? Is it true you cooked for their children? What did you tell them about Earth? Meera answered gently, always humble, always honest. I just told them the truth, that kindness is powerful, that even small people can carry big light. At the Terran Alliance Training Center, Meera gave a short presentation about her mission. Her fellow trainees Tariq, Neela, Anya, Miguel, Ray sat in front, listening with quiet respect. Meera stood at the front of the room, a little nervous but calm. I didn't teach them science or history, she said. I told them about home. I told them how my mother would hold my hand when I was scared. I told them how even when customers were unkind to me, I still served them with respect. She paused, then smiled, and something happened. They listened. They didn't laugh or walk away. They felt it. They felt human heart, even though they're not human. A soft round of applause filled the room. No loud cheers. Just a warm, respectful sound. Leo, watching from the back, nodded slowly. This was the reason he had brought Meera to the stars. Later that week, Meera was invited to join a cultural gathering at the Interstellar Peace Dome, where leaders and thinkers from many species met. It was not a political meeting. It was about understanding, about values, about what truly connects beings across the galaxy. Most of the speakers were well-known, scientists, authors, historians. They spoke with big words and deep theories. When it was Meera's turn, some in the crowd raised eyebrows. A waitress from a border colony? Someone whispered. But Meera walked onto the stage with grace. She stood for a moment, looking at the crowd. Tall aliens with long limbs, humans in fancy suits, even robots with blinking lights. Then she began. When I was a child, my family didn't have much. We lived in a small house. I worked in a diner, serving food to travelers from other worlds. Some in the crowd looked confused. Others leaned in. Some guests were kind. Some were not. One day, a group of tourists mocked me. They called me stupid. They laughed at my voice. They said I was just a background piece in their story. She paused, letting the words sit heavy in the air. But I kept smiling. I still served them, not because I was weak, but because I chose to rise above. Now the room was silent. A man saw that. He believed I had something to offer the galaxy. Not because I had money or power, but because I didn't let cruelty change my heart. She looked around the room, her voice calm and strong, and that's what I want to tell you. We talk about war, trade, science, but what about humility? What about dignity? What about love? These are also part of who we are. A soft, glowing ripple passed through the alien audience, a sign of deep respect among their kind. After the speech, people came to her, aliens and humans both. They didn't speak loudly or ask for photos. They just thanked her. "Your story made me feel something," said a tall insect-like being. "You reminded me of my grandmother," said a young Martian girl. "I had forgotten that pain can also teach," said an old human professor. Meera was surprised. She hadn't planned to impress anyone. She only spoke from her heart. The next day, something unexpected happened. Leo showed Meera a news article on the galactic net. A recording of her speech had gone viral. Millions had seen it. Messages poured in from different colonies, workers, students, parents, even alien ambassadors. But among all the messages, one video stood out. It showed the rude tourists from Nueva Isla. Someone had recorded their behavior. At the diner, the mocking, the insults, the laughter at Meera, the video was clear. Their faces were shown. The title read, "These people laughed at a waitress, now she speaks for Earth." The video had millions of views, and the tourists? They were now facing heavy criticism. Their sponsors pulled away. Their names were no longer praised but questioned. Meera looked at Leo, unsure how to feel. "I didn't want revenge," she said softly. Leo nodded. "And you didn't ask for it. But truth has its way. The world saw who they were. And now the world sees who you are." That evening, Meera sat in the station's garden. She held her glowing Kerrion stone in her palm. It was still bright. She remembered what Larry had said. It shines only when someone shares truth from the heart. She touched her ribbon and whispered, "Papa, I hope you see me now." Behind her, Leo approached. "You've done well," he said. "I didn't expect any of this," Meera replied. Leo smiled. "That's why you were chosen." He handed her a new letter. "You've been invited to speak at the Galactic Ethics Council. It's the highest honor. Only a few humans have ever stood there." Meera's eyes widened. "Me? But Leo raised a hand gently. "Don't doubt yourself. You've shown the galaxy something we almost forgot, what it truly means to be human." That night, as stars glowed outside her window, Meera didn't feel nervous. She felt ready.